All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and make the key for 4.4/4.5. Sort of the first part of that. We'll call this A, I guess. So the first questions, can the two triangles be proved congruent? And if so, what postulate? All right, so that's going to be a very common question throughout this worksheet. All right, but in this case, it looks like we have two angles congruent to two other angles and their included side, right? So let's angle, side, angle. So ASA congruence, perfect. In this case, again, I'm always marking my, I'm going to change color, but I'm always marking my congruent sides, or my reflexive sides, my vertical angles, stuff like that. And so in this case, we have 1, 2, 3 pairs of sides that are congruent. So we can say that is side, angle, side congruence. In this case, again, marking my vertical angles that are part of two triangles. These two triangles, we have two sides and the angles between them, right? So two sides with the angle between them is side, angle, side. And if you just did it from the diagram, side, angle, side. All right, in this one, we actually have two sides with the angles not in between them. So what we really actually have is SSA, right? But that isn't one. So because that isn't one, then this is just none, right? So I'm going to put not enough information for all these. All right, but look at this next one. This one looks like it could be side, angle, side, very similar to this one. So it's possible, except I look over here, I'm thinking, oh, we have side here, side here. So this angle isn't included between. So they don't match up. This one is actually side, side angle, kind of. I mean, they're neither because they don't match up. But the idea is that if, to be a candidate, they'd have to match up. So this is, again, not enough information. And this one, we have kind of the same thing, right? We mark my reflexive side. We have side, angle, side down here. But up here, we have side, side, angle. So they don't match up. So that's not enough information as well. All right, say if the two triangles are congruent. If they are, state how we know. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and mark what we know. 1, 2, 3 right there. And that is going to be side, side, side. Congruence, right? And just reminded me that I made a mistake up here. This, of course, is side, side, side. I may have said that, but I also could have said it wrong, possibly. I thought that I wrote that wrong. So that's side, side, side. Sorry about that. So correction. All right. And then we come back down here and we finish this one out as side, side, side. We look here and we say, all right, we mark our reflexive side here. And this one, we actually have side, side, angle and side, angle, side. They don't match up. So we sort of have not enough information. I'll put. All right. Over here, number 3, we mark that. We say, all right, well, that's side, angle, side. Side, angle, side here, side, angle, side right here. So side, angle, side it is. They match up. And we can say two sides in there included angle, the angle between them. 2 angles, right? So we have 2 angles. And the side that we know is between those 2 angles included in those 2 angles. So we can say that those are congruent. We have 3 sides right here. So we can do side, side, side congruence. We have only 2 sides, and we don't know anything about that third side. We don't have a right triangle or anything like that. So this is not enough information. All right, we're looking here. I know that these are vertical angles at both 90. So if I was just glancing at this one, you would say, oh, well, this is side, side, angle, and maybe it's nothing. But because it's a right triangle, then we sort of, a new one is on the table, right? A new possible theorem we can use is on the table, and that, of course, would be HL, or hypotenuse leg. So the hypotenuses are congruent, the legs are congruent, so this is going to be hypotenuse leg congruence. We look over here, we mark our reflexive side, and now I'm thinking, okay, part of this triangle, we have angle, side, angle, and that is the same, angle, side, angle, right? They'd match up. Okay. I don't know what happened to that. So there it goes. All right, this one basically asks us to prove that they're congruent. All right. So in this case, we have side, side, side congruence. In this case, these are just markings, different ways to mark angles congruent, as long as they or sides and angles congruent, as long as they match, so they're congruent. So these are congruent sides, these are congruent sides, these are congruent angles. So even though these are right triangles, this still is side, angle, side. So right angles are congruent, so we're still saying side, angle, side. In other words, it's the 2 congruent sides and their included angle. The included angle happens to be a right angle, but it doesn't really matter. So let me put it this way: hypotenuse leg was on the table for these in order to see if they're congruent, but we didn't need it. And again, the same thing kind of applies here. Once I mark my reflexive side, I recognize, oh, I have two angles and a side, right? So it's not HL, even though these are right triangles. It's not HL because I actually have an angle followed by a side followed by an angle. So that's going to be angle, side, angle. If I'm looking here, we have an angle. And one pair of angles match up, two pairs of angles match up, and three pairs of angles match up. So this would be AAA, but we already said AAA isn't one, so this is not enough information. In this case, we have a vertical angles. They wouldn't have necessarily had to have marked them. We could have done that, but they did for us. We have angle here and angle here. So we have two pairs of angles, and the sides between them are congruent. So that is angle, side, angle. And then here we have angle, angle, side. So we have two angles, but the sides not between them. I know the directions said something about not using this one, but we can use it, so we should. We can prove them congruent, so we definitely should. And we did. All right. So it says tell whether we can prove the triangles are congruent. If so, if we can, tell how. All right. So in this case, here's where we get a little more convoluted. We can think, we have to do a little more marking and looking at this one. We mark our angles congruent here for vertical angles. I recognize that these are parallel. They're not going to tell me they're parallel for no reason. So I could actually say, I can mark these congruent, right? Because those are alternate interior angles. Again, it's sort of like these are parallel. So like the angles I'm looking at are sort of here and here. And then actually this also would be, so if you saw this one as well. Now, if you stopped right there, that's fine. But now I actually have all three angles, but I do have a side as well. So I can sort of take my pick, right? Because take my pick between a couple, because I could say angle, side, angle, right? So I could say angle, side, angle, if you mark those, or I could say angle, angle, side, sort of depending on which one I knew. So I'd sort of accept either in that case. In this case, we have the sides are 6, 8, 9. The sides are 6, 8, 9. That's all the sides are congruent. They have the same measure. This one says TS bisects this segment. So it's splitting the segment up into two congruent segments. MT is congruent to AT. Okay. And it's telling me this triangle MST is congruent to triangle AST. Yeah, so we're trying to just check if that's true. We know the reflexive side there. So in this case, we do have side, side, side is the reason why that is the thing. All right. So it says M is the midpoint of AB and PQ. So if M cuts AB in half, it splits it into two equal segments, AM and MB. If it's also the midpoint of PQ, it's splitting it up into two equal segments. I also have my vertical angles here, right? So I know my triangles are congruent, and they're congruent because of side, angle, side, right? We have side followed by an angle. In other words, two sides and there an angle between them. So side, angle, side is my reason. And let's just match this up. It says APM. Okay, so we should have BQM. And how do I match that up? I basically thought to myself, well, PM, right, should match up with QM because those are congruent. So then the other one was that was easy. It was just the only one that was left, B. And you could see that hopefully B would be corresponding angles. All right. In this case, we have, these are parallel right here. So these are vertical angles. We have, because this isn't anything there. We have a side here because we can mark this and these are the same, but I don't think we have enough information. So I'm going to go with not enough information. If I'm missing something, I don't think so. We have a side and an angle, and that is it. All right. Yeah, if we knew that these were parallel or something, maybe we could do something else, but we don't. So that's it. That's all we got. All right. So then in this case, we have some parallel lines. We have these are congruent. We have a reflexive side in the middle there between these two. We know that if these are parallel, these are alternate interior angles. So we actually have side, angle, side, right? So a part of this triangle up top, we have a side, angle, and then a side. Down here, we have a side, an angle, and then that shared side. Okay, so we know that it is side, angle, side congruence. And MON would be MON. So we're going from MO is the side that is, has the two tick marks. So we go TN, and then the leftover one would be O. All right. Next one, we have, looks like we have these vertical angles there. We have these two sides. So it looks like we have 3 pieces of information, but what we have is side, side, angle. In other words, we have 2 sides, that not the angle between them. So it looks like side, angle, side, side, angle, which isn't one. So not enough information. All right, keep on going. Last page here, I think, maybe. We're close to it. Yeah, these will go by quick. Sure. All right, so we have parallel lines. So these are alternate interior angles that are congruent. We can mark those congruent as well. It looks like we have 2 sides, but we don't know the angle. Let's mark that like that. We have 2 sides, but we don't know the angles between them, right? So I can't find any other angles. So it does look like this also is not enough information. All right, we'll look here. In this case, we have these lines are parallel. So here's a transversal right here, and then we have this as a transversal right here. So, and we can also do, vertical angles. Let's do the third one there. So we actually sort of have our pick again between sort of angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side. Either one would be fine. And so if it's X, V, W, then it's going to be X, Z, Y. Okay. And just sort of matching up our angles there that we know are congruent, right? So Y should match up with W, and it does. Z matches up with V, and it does, etc. Okay, mark some vertical angles in here. We know these are parallel, so we have, these would be alternate interior angles. So if I just stop here, I can have angle, side, angle, and that's fine. Or if I kept on going and did those congruent to that, then I would have, again, angle, angle, side. So it sort of like depends on where you stop and what information you stop with, or what you look at first is fine. But it says E, C, D, so that would be A, C, B, as far as which ones are congruent. All right, these other ones don't have spots. We can just tell what they are. In this case, so these will be a little bit quicker. We have an angle followed by a side followed by an angle. Again, just because it's a right triangle doesn't make it HL. It just means that HL is on the table. It's a chance to have HL, but it's not. It's angle, side, angle. In this case, the right angles just count as congruent angles, right? In this case, we'll mark reflexive. We have side, angle, side, 2 sides and the angle between them. In this case, we have all 3 sides. Down here, we have reflexive side there that I marked. So side, the right angle is on the other side. So that's side, angle, side. Again, they're right triangles, but doesn't mean that's anything. In this case, we know that these are congruent, and we can mark these right here as also congruent because they're isosceles, and only because all of them are congruent, right? If all of them have the same length, we know that these angles would have to be congruent to each other, and so we would do these, but these are the same. So it looks like angle, side works here. Is that true? I don't think that's true. I'm going to rescind that. The only thing I'm thinking of is if I had this we know that these angles are congruent to each other, right? What we don't know is that they're congruent to these other angles as part of the other triangle. So I'm going to rescind that and say, and the way that I thought about this, the way that I sort of confirmed it to myself anyway, was that if I sort of redrew this same thing with these 2 sides, but just like made it like a wider triangle here, like just made it open wider here, like it would still be the same length. It would just be a longer side here, so we know they wouldn't be congruent. So that was my sort of rationale between that. All right, looking here. So that would be sort of not enough information there. All right, we're looking here, and we have side, side, angle. In other words, the 2 sides, but the angle isn't between them. So that's nothing, right? Not enough information is side, side, angle. Like that side, side, angle, it doesn't prove anything. Okay, we have side, angle, side here. Once I mark the vertical angle, marking the vertical angle again, and we actually have side, side, angle, so that's not enough information. In this case, that's 61 and that's 60, then this has to be 59, and this has to be 61. So we have all 3 angles are congruent, and so we have a reflexive side, so we either have angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side congruent, sort of depending on which one you want. We have some parallel lines here. We have a reflexive side, of course. Parallel lines means that these would be alternate interior angles based on the top two, and based on the side, that would make these two alternate interior angles. So it looks like we have angle, side, angle, congruence. All right, we have these are corresponding angles, our congruence, because these are parallel lines. We have, let's see, what else do we have? We have these two lines are parallel, which means that, oh, these are parallel, so these are also corresponding angles. So if those are corresponding angles, we have angle, side, angle, are congruent. All right, we have these angles are congruent. We have these angles are congruent because of alternate interior angles theorem, right? And these are also congruent because of alternate interior angles. So it looks like we have A. But again, that doesn't prove it, so not enough information. I don't have any sides there. I need at least a side. All right, so we mark these congruent. These are parallel up here. These are alternate interior angles. Now we do have side, angle, side here, but not here necessarily. So not here, right? That's the angles between, so that's also not enough information. Here we have reflexive. These are congruent. These are alternate interior angles, so therefore they're congruent because the lines are parallel. So we have side, angle, side of this triangle, and then side, angle, side matches up with this one. So that's what it is. All right. In this case, we have these vertical angles. So we have angle, side, angle, angle, side. So that works there. Angle, angle, side works there. Not a whole lot of HLs on these, but we're going to do some. All right. So now we have, those are vertical angles. So we have, in this case, we have it would be side, side, angle, but these are right triangles. So it's actually, never mind, I'm lied. It's the angle, angle, side. I was looking at the next one. In other words, right angles are congruent. These vertical angles are congruent, angle, angle. And then, so this side that's congruent is not the one between them or included. It's the other one. So there it is. All right, we mark these congruent there. We have a right angle there, so a right angle there. So in this case, we have two right triangles where we would have side, side, angle. But because they're right triangles, HL is, it exists for us and it works. So we can use HL because, again, we have the hypotenuses are congruent. One of the legs is congruent, it's reflexive, and we go from there. All right, we have vertical angles again. So we have angle, side, angle. In this case, we have angle, 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 which doesn't prove anything. So I'm just going to say angle, 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 but show, nope, not enough information. In this case, we have, it looks like we just have, once I mark the reflexive side, angle, side, side, or side, side, angle, that would be, which doesn't prove anything. So that would be side, side, angle, right, which doesn't prove anything. So not enough information. No, I think I also take that back. There's more that I can look at there. Let's see, because if this whole thing is an isosceles triangle, that would make this congruent to this, right? Which means I have side, side, angle, side, side, angle, side. So I had to use the sort of the isosceles triangle theorem there. The fact that, if this, then that, right? So that's what I did. All right. In this case, we have two right triangles. We have side, side, angle, which we know in right triangles is actually a hypotenuse is the shared side, the reflexive side. And we have a leg that's congruent. They're right triangles. So HL is what we got here. And the last three, looks like we just have, that's it there. So we just have an angle and a side. They're right triangles and a hypotenuse, but no leg. So it looks like we have not enough information. In this case, we have angle, side, angle. So they're right triangle again, but not necessarily HL. And then in this case, I don't know where this came from, but oh, I think it was marked it right over here. So the last one is, didn't mean that. So I meant to erase it. But the last one here, we can mark this congruent there. We mark that's a right angle on the other side as well. So it looks like angle, side, angle over here, but angle, angle, side over here. So like they don't match up. So what we could do is we could if I mark that congruent, because the third angles theorem, right? We still don't have enough, because what we have here is we have two angles and a congruent side and two angles, but it's the wrong side